Hi everyone, it's Sarah Fleming from Prepare to Die Papercrafts, and today we're going to make this card. I'm going to make this card using the colors Cajun Craze, Balmy Blue, Old Olive, Crushed Curry, and Copper. And I'll tell you more about that copper glimmer paper in a minute. I'm using 3 stamp sets. This is the Falling for Leaves stamp set, and we're actually using the full bundle on that because it also, you can get it in a bundle with these dies for 10% off. So we're using both the stamps and the dies on that one. We're using the Buffalo Check background stamp, and I'm going to show you how I get my best coverage with that stamp set. And then I'm also using this little thank you from the Tropical Chic, not Tropical Chic, Tropical Chic stamp set. So we're going to get started. I'm going to start with the Buffalo Check, and I'm going to show you how I get the best coverage. So what I do is I get my stamp situated, and I cut my cardstock a little bit long. So this is 4 inches and this is 6 inches, and it's going to be 4 by 5 1/4 on my page. So I'm going to put it here and see how that looks. Yeah, that looks like it's going to line up just fine. And then I've left, and the reason I leave a 1/2 inch is because when you're using these big background stamps, you get the cardstock sticking to the stamp after you've stamped, even when it's photopolymer. You normally don't get that, even when it's red rubber. You normally only get that with photopolymer. But with red rubber, if it's got a big enough stamping area, it'll also stick to the paper. So I leave enough that I can lay it out, cover everything I need to cover, and then have enough hanging over so that I can stick the magnet there so that my paper won't pop up with the stamp so that I can re-stamp it. Wrong color. Okay, so we're going to start with Balmy Blue. Ooh, I just re-inked this pad, and I forgot, so I was pushing down a little harder than I should have been, but that'll probably help us get some really good coverage. We might have to stamp it several times. Sometimes more than others. It just depends. So I'm just making sure I push my fingers all over it to see what we get. It's actually pretty good. Let's go ahead and stamp down again, and then I'm going to re-ink and stamp again. So I'm going to leave that and set it to dry in just a minute. But first I'm going to trim it down. So there's a little bit to trim off on this end. And I can see I haven't lined it up that well. So actually I'm going to start by straightening these lines out. No, I can't do that because I've got it just enough. So let's just trim this off, and we might just be a little bit crooked. I didn't mount my stamp perfectly straight, I can see. And so I'm going to the 5 1/4, so I'm trimming off a good almost 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to come in here with the Cajun Craze card base and put that on there with the liquid glue. Have some dogs barking out in the yard today. Okay, that's on there. And I can tell that my ink pad was too juicy because the paper is a little bit raised, which means that usually I got too much ink on there. Okay, so now I've got some stamping to do, and I'm going to stamp on very vanilla cardstock, and that's what I stamped the Buffalo Check on too. And let's see, I've got a couple of leaves to stamp in Crushed Curry. I like this set because it's got all different kinds of leaves, which is nice, and all kind of different sizes. And then I'm going to stamp the big one. I'll put that here. That was Crushed Curry. This is going to be Cajun Craze. very well. Try that one again. Okay, that's better. And then, and then I've got my sentiment to stamp. And I'll need another piece of paper since I had to stamp twice on that one. So, Balmy Blue is the color I'm going to use for this sentiment. I love this sentiment, thinking of you with a grateful heart. It was one of the things that pushed me over the edge. That's really nice. Now that one I'm going to cut out with the second largest circle from the Stitch Shapes framelit. I'm not going to bring the big shot over. I'm just going to show you kind of how I'm going to cut. So that one will go with the Stitch Shapes. This one, I'll show you, there's this big detailed die. And then there's also the big frame die that frames out this leaf. So that's what I'm going to use there. And then on my other little leaves, I've got this little die. So that goes here. And then I'm cutting Old Olive with this die. I want to give you a tip about this one. This one, the first time I ran this through the Big Shot, it worked great. And I didn't have any trouble getting the little bits out because it's pretty detailed. The second and third time, nothing would pop out. So I used my precision base plate with that one, and that works really well with the precision base plate. So I recommend with this particular die, which this is actually the only one in the set that you would need it for, but I really recommend the precision base plate or use a shim. So that one's going with the Old Olive, and this long funky one is going with the Cajun Craze. But I've actually already cut these, so I'm just going to set these to the side. Oh, and I also cut the detailed leaf out of copper glimmer paper. And that's this one. That copper glimmer paper is in the Joyous Noel glimmer paper. You get 3 colors. You get Cajun Craze. No, I'm sorry. That's the color on my card. You get Copper, Tranquil Tide, and Merry Merlot. And the Merry Merlot one actually works really well with Cherry Cobbler and with Real Red, so you can use that kind of for all your Christmas reds. So I'm going to first glue down this leaf. And when I'm working with this, since I keep forgetting to use the multi-purpose adhesive sheets, when I'm working with this, I always have a wet baby wipe nearby. That one's almost dry, so I'm going to get a new one. So, so that one goes down first, and then we'll put this one in. And I'm just gluing down the bottom parts of these leaves, because then they have plenty of room to kind of pop up and have a personality. And with this one, so that it doesn't show under other things, you're going to have to just tear off a little bit of the stem. I have to clean my fingers again. I'm a big mess right now. Okay, so this one, so this is the intricate part that I was talking about that is hard to get everything out. So that's what you need the precision base plate for. And that one goes here. I keep having to look at my card to see where everything goes. Okay, and that one's gonna go, no, over it. Okay, but first I'm gonna put this leaf down so that I can shove those little yellow leaves in wherever they look good. Okay, so this one I've glued down here. Not exactly sure what happened with my camera, but it turned off. And then this one. So I've put this leaf down here. And then I have the yellow one here, and I'm going to shove it in behind here, which is another reason I don't glue them all the way down. And I'm going to do the same thing here on this side. You can obviously arrange these however you like. And then I've got, I'm only going to use 4 dimensionals, if you can believe it. And then all we're gonna need is our little twine, and then our card's done. It's really, well, it's quick when you've done all the big shot cutting ahead of time. It doesn't take that long on the big shot either though. Okay, so we'll put that there, and then this is the Festive Farmhouse cotton twine. It comes in Mossy Meadow, Cherry Cobbler, Mossy Meadow, Cherry Cobbler, and Very Vanilla. I love it because it's soft and it lays nicely. It's very pretty, but it is a little bit fiddly to tie. Because sometimes like you're trying to push the loop through to, you know, get your 2 loops, and it won't go because it's that soft. I have glue on my hands and this thing is sticking. Okay, so just get the bow looking nice how you would like it. Yeah, I haven't had any trouble with these twisty loops with this twine before, so I don't know why it's doing it now. I'm just gonna stick that here. You could stick it anywhere else that you prefer on the card. Snip the ribbon. Let's snip that a little shorter. Let's make this prettier. Okay, so that's our card front done, and now we're going to do the inside, which I almost forgot about. Okay, forget it. Okay, so I've lined up my stamp so that this is parallel with the top of the block. You could also use your Stamparatus, but I really kind of just wanted it. I think this is a little quicker. So I'm lining up the top of the block with the top of the cardstock. And that's perfectly straight. And then let me clean that so I don't end up with ink all over my hands from flipping the stamp over. And then in crushed curry, I'm going to stamp some of these little yellow leaves. Get on here. One there, and then maybe one up here. And then we're just going to glue that to the inside of the card. It helps if your card is open before you try to glue it. And then that's that one done. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.